Hi there, my name is Erica Bowling. I am the owner and founder of Northeast Canine Conditioning, and I frequently get a question over and over when I talk about canine fitness for sport and working dogs. The question is, what about puppies? What is appropriate? What should we be doing with puppies? What should we not be doing with our puppies? And how can we proceed safely? We know they need exercise, they've got a lot of energy, but what can we do that's appropriate when it comes to fitness and exercise for our puppies? So, to answer some of these questions, I put together a short video tutorial for you with some of my tips and recommendations for exercising and keeping those puppies fit and healthy. So, puppy fitness tips for the working dog handler. What is it that makes our puppies so special, especially when it comes to exercise? Why is it that we don't want to treat our puppies the same way we do as a physically mature dog? A couple things to keep in mind is that their bones, muscles, tendons, and ligaments don't grow at the same pace. Their growth plates can actually close at a variety of different times. And this creates imbalances in development. And these imbalances in development, they place additional strain on the growing body. And for some dogs, depending on the individual dog and also the breed of the dog, physical maturity can happen quite late for some. It can happen as late as 1.5 to 2 years of age. And also with puppies, things that we might think are just, a simple injury that they're going to recover quickly from, depending on the injury for some puppies, it can actually create permanent damage. So, with this in mind, with the unique situation of what we're facing with these growing puppies, and when we're trying to do fitness and exercises with them, I have a couple tips here that I want you to keep in mind. First off, though, puppies need exercise. We don't want to bubble wrap them. It's important for the working dog puppy that they build confidence that their muscles and their tendons and their ligaments, their bodies grow properly. And in order for this to happen, they do need exercise. But this has to be done with appropriate exercises that accommodate the needs of the puppy. So it's important that they get exercise. It will help them in proper growth and development, but we have some special considerations that we must keep in mind. And I'm going to talk about 5 of these things that I think are key for us to recognize when we're working with these puppies. Number one is we don't want fat puppies. Being fat, having excess weight on their bodies, it's not good for the joints, it's not good for the bones, it's not good for the tendons and ligaments. Being overweight can impact mobility, agility, overall balance for the puppy. You can have health issues with that. And also, especially as our working dog puppies, if you have a dog that's going to be doing detection work, doing scent work, we have research to show that when these dogs and puppies are overweight, when they're not fit, it can actually negatively impact their ability to do scent work. They're just not as good at it whenever they're carrying that extra body weight, and it just affects all of what they do. So we don't want a fat puppy. We want to keep them active and we want to keep an eye on their body weight. Number 2, we want to make exercise self-directed. So we want puppy play to be the kind of exercise that they have exposure to. You want to avoid structure, kind of repetitive type of activities such as cardio, strength training activities where you're running with the dog, where you're cycling with the dog, where you are setting the pace. We don't want that with the puppies. We want them to set the pace. We want them to determine when they're playing, how much they want to exercise, and they can get rests and breaks whenever they want. Now, we do have to be careful because they can get super motivated chasing us and following us. If you're playing with balls and they have high prey drive, we have to be careful also that sometimes when we have a highly motivated, a high energy, highly driven working dog puppy, that sometimes we have to really step in and kind of protect them. So we do have to monitor it, but we have to keep an eye that sometimes there are things that will overstimulate the puppy and they may push themselves too hard. But really, we want that to be self-directed activities, self-directed exploration and play. Another thing that's great for our working puppies, our working dogs as they're growing up, is building that sense of confidence, exploration, and these are things that we can really encourage when they're young through this kind of self-directed play. Number um, Number 3, you want to minimize or possibly totally avoid, when possible, high impact, highly concussive activities that are going to be hard on their bodies, on their joints, any kind of repetitive activities. We need to be careful with that until their growth plates are closed. Some of the things that you want to be careful about, and examples of this, for one, is you don't want your puppy jumping off the couch. You don't want them jumping on and off the bed, leaping out of the back of your SUV. I've seen people where puppies have been on the bench of a picnic table or even on the top of the picnic table and went launching off. So these types of things we really want to make sure that we don't let our puppies do until we know they are physically fully mature and their growth plates are closed. Another thing that I like to keep an eye out is going up and down the stairs. Now, depending on the age of the puppy, when they're really young, they're not going to be going up and down flights of stairs on their own. But as they start getting older, they can manage the stairs. I really minimize the speed at which they go down the stairs or go up the stairs. I like slow and controlled. I actually had a dog, an adult dog, that actually pulled a muscle by leaping up the stairs and running quickly up the stairs. So that those are also just kind of your day-to-day things you want to keep an eye on your puppy, and you really want to minimize that, or completely keep out those high impact activities. And also, like I said, the repetitive type activities, there's nothing wrong with introducing things like, let's say you have some fitness equipment and they're getting used to walking over it or sitting on it and doing sit down and stand type of activities, maybe balancing on the equipment. But you don't want to have that repetitiveness. You don't want high impact. You don't want to encourage repetitive jumping and leaping, and definitely you don't want them jumping off of high surfaces. So these are things you want to be really careful as your puppy is growing. And the challenge here is with a lot of our working dogs, when they're young, they've got so much energy that they really don't pay attention to what they're doing, and we have to sometimes step in and really control their environment to make sure that we set them up for success and not getting injured. Tip number 4 is monitor play with other dogs and other puppies. I once asked the physical therapist that I use for one of my dogs, I said, what is it that brings in the injuries? What's the most common injury you see with dogs that are coming in that need your help? And without hesitation, she said dogs that are out in the backyard just playing around, romping around, and getting injured. That was the most frequent injuries that she would get. And this was somebody that dealt with a lot of sport dogs and working dogs. So we wanna minimize, accidental type things where they're running into each other and slamming into, each other when they're playing, but also we must make sure that if they're going to be playing with other dogs, especially adult dogs, that we know those dogs are safe to play with puppies, that they have the appropriate type of play style, they have the appropriate amount of exercise that you're doing with the dog, the intensity, the type of activity. We want to make sure that they are a good match for your puppy. You definitely don't want them getting injured whenever they're playing with older dogs or even other puppies that might be playing a bit too rough for them. And like I said, I can't stress enough, make sure if they are larger dogs, older dogs, make sure that you know very confidently that they are safe to be with puppies playing and interacting. I actually one of my dogs has a distant relative, that a puppy was pretty recently went to a new home and was in the backyard with the new owners, and they introduced it to their older dog, and the puppy was killed. So it's not just being careful with the introductions, but when they're playing, and even though you know that that dog is really good with puppies, you really want to monitor the type of play, the intensity of the play, and you may have to step in and interrupt at times. And tip number 5 is you want to also monitor play that the puppies have with humans. So, some of the things here is like if you're tugging with your puppy, you want to make sure you use appropriate pressure. You don't want to be using too much pressure pulling on the puppy. You don't want to be pulling up on a tug where you're kind of yanking and putting that neck in an awkward position. You want to have a neutral spine. You want to have pressure that you're pulling gently and lightly in alignment with the spine, with the neck of the dog. Also, I really don't like having even my adult dogs, chasing bouncing balls, rolling bouncing balls, because your puppies are already uncoordinated. If they're running and jumping and leaping and the ball takes an unexpected twist or turn and they miss it, they're already uncoordinated, usually as a puppy. You're just setting them up for injury. So, depending on the level of prey drive they have and how intense they are in chasing the ball, um, I definitely don't have them chasing bouncing balls. And usually, if they have a decent amount of prey drive and they really want to chase that ball, what I typically do is I'll throw the ball, let it stop rolling, and then I'll let my puppy chase it. Like I said, I even do this with my adult dogs. And then also keep it fun. Make sure you keep it fun. You want to keep it safe. Change up the environments, change up the kinds of surfaces that they're walking on and playing on. Puppy playgrounds. I've seen some amazing puppy playgrounds. I've seen people with search and rescue handlers in the ring sport world. I've seen some amazing things that they build little playgrounds for puppies that are awesome for developing balance, strength, and body awareness while the puppies are playing in a safe environment. So those are some things that you might want to think about if you're not currently doing with your puppies. And then finally, if you want to learn more, and as your puppy's growing, as your puppy's developing, as you hit adolescence, as you get into the fully mature stage, that is a time when you can really start ramping up exercise and activities and actually be more structured in what you're doing. So if you'd like to know more about exercises that are appropriate, not just for puppies, but adolescent dogs, older dogs, if you're interested in learning more about how to actually design structured fitness programs as your dog actually becomes mature and is ready to advance, feel free to reach out to me. Again, my name is Erica Bowling, and I am with Northeast Canine Conditioning. You can see my website, northeastcanineconditioning.com is where you can find me. And also, don't hesitate to reach out and email me at any time. I have a variety of resources and programs, videos, all kinds of things that can expand your understanding of how to safely move forward from puppies through adulthood, through the senior years with your working dog. So I'd love to hear from you, and keep these tips in mind as you're working with those puppies.